Welcome.
Accessing files.
Downloading.
3,
2.
1.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another podcast. Welcome back to the Forging Theories podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about the hot weekend movie that kicked the summer off, right? Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. And again, a reminder for everybody out there, it was directed by Sam Raimi. Yes, that Sam Raimi who did Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He entered back into superhero realm, into the MCU. So what are we going to get into today? Pretty much, we're going to be talking big picture, right? Biggest hits, misses. Going to go through some thoughts on how the movie should have ended. A little controversial for some people out there. Obviously, if you're not living under a rock, you know that this movie kind of has people torn. So we're going to dive into that. And then we're also going to get into the interesting post-credit scene and where these characters are going to be moving to forward. So obviously, I said I have none other than Mr. Jalapeno, the Jabbering Jalapeno, on the channel. What's going on?
What's up, guys? What's up, man? It's good to be back in the virtual flesh, I guess. But yeah, let's get into it, man.
Listen, guys. This movie, don't let it fool you, because although it has a 75% Rotten Tomatoes rating, it's sitting at an 87 fan rating, and that's gone up since the Thursday. So this past weekend, it did pretty well. 185 million on opening weekend. In comparison, now this is kind of crazy. In comparison, Doctor Strange only did 85 million in 2016 on opening weekend. So obviously success in that sense, right?
All hype.
All hype. But listen, the hype paid off. This movie was only second to Spider-Man No Way Home. It smacked Shang-Chi, smacked Black Widow. That's including the Disney Plus numbers. And it completely smacked Eternals. This movie's seventh all time for the MCU. Only behind Age of Ultron, which I think opening weekend was like 190 something million. So not too bad. And obviously they're laughing to the bank. Dude, this movie only cost 200 mil to make, not including marketing promos, literally 200 million to make. How much is Disney Plus?
Disney Plus is I think like Moon Knight was 300 mil.
Just think about that though. 200 million to make. And they did what, a month, 2 months of reshoots. So we're going to get into it, but kind of high level view. What did you think of the movie? How enjoyable was the experience for you?
Well, one, I gotta get it right off the bat. I had the boy Cam flew out. You made it all the way out here. I got the
no sleep.
Team no sleep for real, bro. We had the premiere tickets. We had a huge squad of like 10 people this time around. The hype was definitely there. So that being said, like I feel like the hype really is what carried the movie. Overall, was it an enjoyable film? Yes. That being said, was there certain points where certain things happened throughout the movie where I was like, damn, I wish they would have done something differently, or damn, they could have easily built off of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, the visuals were ridiculous. Like some of the special effects scenes and different dimensions they were going through and different characters were wild. But then to the same token, there was other points where the special effects were just, you know, I felt like the screen was like too busy at some points, and I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna get a headache after this.
Especially in IMAX, seeing it in that theater, like there were moments, especially in the beginning of it, there were moments where you're looking and you're just like, I can't like adjust. And I think I just adjusted as the movie went on, but yeah, 100%. It sounded good though.
Oh yeah, no, the score and like even just the difference in like the instrumentals to really convey emotion and fear.
Mm-hmm.
That was good shit. I gotta say kudos to them.
Yeah, especially with Sam Raimi trying to bring in more of that horror, scary element to this. And this is kind of their first stab at kind of making you jump a little bit, right? There were a few times in the movie where people jumped, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, makes sense.
Shout out to the
They
boy
did a
Otto.
good job. Dude, the bot got off the seat. I gotta say that at least once. But yeah, interesting mixed bag, right? I feel like that's going to be a common theme that you guys are going to be hearing throughout this podcast today. But what was your favorite scene?
For me, my absolute favorite scene was the introduction to Mr. Fantastic, John Krasinski style, #1 fan cast, and just finally seeing him on screen. I know we didn't get him for much, but it was the hype was definitely there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, 100%. That was like going back to the movie. That was a moment where like you heard people in the crowd, like you heard people being like, oh dang, like that. It was one of those moments where like you grab the person next to you, like you grab their arm. Like I remember we were both hitting each other, like, oh, it happened. Like
We were like clapping and shit.
yeah. And I mean, that's what you want though. When you go to these movies and you experience things, especially in the way that we did with the people who they hype out with you, like they delivered in spades on that scene and bringing them in. We all kind of knew, like this was similar to, don't roast me on this, but this was similar to like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, like pure fan service where like this person just needs to be in this movie. If there's ever going to be a time that they show up, this is it. And bam, they delivered on John Krasinski. Absolutely. But I got to say, I don't think that was my favorite scene. It's up there. And I can have multiple favorite scenes. It's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to say, my favorite scene is when the Scarlet Witch was up above, overlooking Camertage. All the people have their shields up, right? Reminiscent to kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy when the Nova Corps was doing that when Ronan was coming through with his ship. Like they were the defense. They were up there. And she had a tough time getting through at first. But flashback to Age of Ultron when she was sneaking up on everyone and she was whispering in their ear and sending people to a dreamland and all that kind of stuff. Like she looked for the weakest links in the armor. And when she just like creepily just like showed up behind that guy and she's like, run. And he took off and started bumping people and messed up the whole, like that scene to me, I don't know if I just kind of like felt like if that was me in that situation and I'm looking up at her and all of a sudden she's right behind me, like I can't stop that. I'm putting up my best spell. And she was just like, yeah, no, not happening. Get out of here. And then she just wrecked everybody after that. Like, I love that. That was really good to me.
Yeah, no, that was. I mean, it was a great display of her powers, not only on like a magical scale, but on like a psychological and mental scale, because she's able to, get into the mind of these people and just turn it on and boom, go to work.
We've seen other powers that she's displayed, right? We've seen her all the way, now go all the way back to Captain America, Winter Soldier, post-credit scene, right? She's there with Quicksilver. They're doing their thing when they're captured by Von Strucker, and you're just like, okay, we get some new characters. But then we go display in Age of Ultron, right? She has her whole kind of a little redemption there, and we get some more powers, and we see that chaos magic, right? Then we go Civil War, same thing. We go Infinity War, Endgame, and by Endgame, you're thinking like, man, just a little bit more, and she could have wrecked Thanos, who at the time was the strongest character that we've seen on the big screen, period. I mean, this guy wrecked Hulk in the beginning. Like, you just don't do that. But she was right there until he did his what was it that he did?
He said rain down, like he said just like fire at the troops or whatever. I don't even know.
Rainfire. Was it Rainfire?
Yeah, Rain Fire, I think it was.
And that whole thing. And then it was basically they just started launching missiles at their own people or monsters or aliens or whatever you want to call them, right? So like she was right there. And then we get WandaVision. And I want to take a quick second to just kind of do a small, very small recap of WandaVision. But I want to do it through your perspective, right? I know what mine is. What's your perspective on the character development of Wanda in WandaVision from episode 1 to the finale?
I mean, that was really like the first time we got a chance to see Wanda from like an inside perspective. You know, every time we've seen her previously, she was in the post-credit scene, Captain America Civil War, or Captain America Winter Soldier. Age of Ultron, she was really just like a weapon. She had no character development. Ultron was just like go unleash hell.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America Civil War, it's kind of the same thing. You see a little bit of a romantic connection. You know, all these movies before WandaVision, her only character arc was to be used as a legitimate weapon. Then you get into WandaVision and you start to break down those walls that she has set up, and you get to like actually develop her as a character, which is part of the reason why WandaVision was one of the best shows on Disney Plus until Moon Knight surpassed that shit.
Shout out.
But I think what was so beautiful about WandaVision is that it really was a love story, you know, with all the grief that she was feeling from her past, also with Vision, the kids, you know, it was her essentially having a legitimate mental breakdown. And unlike a mental breakdown where Steven and Mark, you know, split personalities, she just splits reality and creates a whole existence of a world where she can be happy and have everything that she wants, even knowing that, you know, it's putting other people at bay and they're essentially like prisoners to her reality scape.
But how do you, as the viewer, will put you right? I would say we're more of the hardcore fans, the people who are looking at every detail, right? One thing that we've always talked about in the past, or if you guys go back and listen to our other YouTubes or anything on the TikTok, like the TikTok, goodness, it's only, hey, go the TikTok, the talk. You felt a connection with the character. We finally, just like you said, finally get a solo origin. We know now that, you know, her and her brother in Sokovia, what they felt when they saw that Stark bomb that was there. We saw her manifestations of the sitcoms. Why? Like, we got a lot of answers and an in-depth look into that character. And I think two things stick out to me that you said. One, it was a love story between her and Vision. Shout out to my guy Vishon. And two, Billy and Tommy. Now, obviously, you guys have seen the movie. Billy and Tommy are a huge focal point. But Vision was a piece of that as well. That was the whole family. That was the complete scenario that she wanted. She wanted a husband. She wanted kids. She obviously couldn't do that. Why? Vision, synthezoid, not having anything to do with reproduction. The kids' manifestation of the magic. So, right, you get that feel. And I guess I didn't really give you a second answer, but how did you feel seeing all those things?
Yeah, I mean, you could just see how, like, you know, this superhero journey at the end of the road, everybody wants to have their retirement, you know? Cap could do this all day. He would fight to, you know, save everybody's lives without a doubt. But at the end of it, he's got to, you know, go into the past and be with his loved one. Tony Stark. People get snapped out of existence. There's nothing he could do about it. He gets rescued and he has a second chance of settling down with Pepper. He does that shit. So this was Wanda's settlement in terms of, you know, having the family and the life that she wants to have outside of the baggage that comes with being a superhero.
Right. Now, hang on to that. And you guys listening, that is where we left off with Wanda, who had a transition into the Scarlet Witch. That's where we had her before Multiverse of Madness. So hang on to that. But before we get into it, we're going to talk about the biggest hit. We're going to go through some misses in a second. But Jabbering Jalapeno and I, we like to do segments, hits and misses. So, Jab Jala, what was your biggest hit for Multiverse of Madness?
I mean, kind of overall, some of it was like the special effects. The ones that did hit hard. Like I absolutely loved the final battle when Strange was fighting Evil Strange, and they were using like the music notes. I thought like visually
Cool.
that was like so sick. How every time that a music note would hit, it would make the sound, and essentially it made like a fucking a theme song for the battle. But
Yeah.
to that point, at the very end, my boy literally flicks one little ass music note from the harp, and I'm like, no, bro, ain't no way that one note is just gonna be the one that does it all, you know?
Yeah.
There's just certain things that like I think the visuals were perfect, and then they would take it like a step too far, like, okay, now this is a tad bit too ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, to that visual point, I think it was the same thing for me. My biggest hit was, again, going back to Kamertage, but when Doctor Strange trapped her in that dimension and she looks and she's like, for a split second, she's just like, okay, what do I do now? But she's so powerful and she's smart enough now to figure it out as a Scarlet Witch that she starts coming out of the puddles and she basically breaks free. I mean, when Doctor Strange traps somebody in these other dimensions, you're just like, you're done. Just like how Spider-Man ended up trapping him after he figured out it's all just shapes and geometry and those types of things. Like he was able to get out, and Doctor Strange was trapped in that dimension for a while, right? A decent chunk of the movie couldn't get out. She did this in minutes. And it was just cool how they did the effects and like add the kind of that creepy element to everything of the way that she was able to get out of the reflections. And then she shows up and she's like, okay, like enough of the games, like give me what I came for. That to me was overall like, that's just the one part of the movie that positively sticks out in my brain where I'm just like, man, that was very, very, very well done. Very well done. But there were some other really good parts of the movie too. So what other hits did you have?
Honestly, I kind of like the flashback scene where Doctor Strange saw like him receiving the watch from oh damn, what's
Young
the
Christine.
nurse? Christine, yeah. I'm a sucker for a love story, and I like seeing that. That is the superhero sacrifice. Like when you have the responsibility of being a superhero, not only like Doctor Strange, where he is in charge of the damn reality and potentially the multiverse. I hate to say it, but having a girl is not at the highest priority when it comes to that. So seeing a scene where he, distinctly remembers something that's very emotionally attached to him, and how he still wears that watch to this day, that I like that. That was another good a hit for me.
No, I absolutely like that. And one thing that I really like too that kind of like hit home is that the one, I think it was the 838 Supreme Doctor Strange, I want to say, where to open the door to get where the Book of Ashanti was, the watch was like the key. After all these spells and stuff he can do, he uses something physical to be like that final part that opens it. So yeah, I 100% agree. Dude, I got to give it up to my sleeper though. We went into the movie. For those of you guys who are curious, go back to Jabbering Jalapenos TikTok. We did kind of a preview for the movie, and the big prediction was Wong was not going to make it out of this movie alive. And bro, grip strength reigns supreme. He has the dagger of all daggers, And
3-inch dagger.
3-inch dagger taking out what looked like some of the most insane beasts that we were going to see who didn't really do anything. But, Wong once again lives to see another day. He is still the Sorcerer Supreme. He's doing his thing. We've seen him in what? 3? He was Shang-Chi. What was he in before that?
He was in Doctor Strange, first appearance.
Yep.
Doctor Strange 2, Shang-Chi as a cameo, and then I'm pretty sure he was in Infinity War. Infinity War he was. Endgame just at the final battle.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 appearances.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking like one of the stronger side characters that we're seeing in the MCU. So I got to give it up. He held his own, especially when he was facing Gargantos. In the beginning, he looked pretty BA. I'm not going to lie. Do you have any other things that stood out to you? Any other hits that you maybe weren't expecting and they actually delivered on?
Dude, I absolutely love, and I don't know why I didn't say this earlier, but the theory of our dreams are our multiversal selves like living out. Dude, like thinking about that was crazy, especially because of how it can tie into like our human nature and how like if we've had dreams of some crazy ass shit, who's to know if there's a parallel universe where that is literally what is happening.
Yeah, you took that home. When you left the theater, I guarantee you before the people went to sleep, they're just like, who am I going to meet now? Like, what am I going to do somewhere else? Like, yeah. And that's big. When a movie can make you do something like that to where you think about it later on for your own personal self, that's a win. That is a huge win. I love that you pointed that out. Absolutely. Oops. Sorry, I'm dropping stuff here.
Okay.
This is going to be weird. This might not be for everyone, but I have to say Earth 838 was a hit for me. Although it was not explored, I think that they did enough to set the stage to make it feel different, but to make it feel like a worthy setting where some pretty big things happen, which we'll get into in a minute. But of course, we're all about the negative sometime. Biggest miss. The number one biggest miss. I'm talking the worst thing in the movie. Where did they flop?
For me, I have like 3 big misses, but the main one that bothers me to this day is the Book of Vishanti or the Book of Damshati, whatever you want to call it. Because the entire time, I mean, dude, we opened the movie up with that as being the MacGuffin. Like, dude, once I get my hands on this book, I am unstoppable. I'm Sorcerer Supreme to the max.
Mm-hmm.
They finally get to the book, halfway through the movie, and that shit literally gets one tapped. I mean, I know it's like a physical relic, but shouldn't there be some kind of like mystical barrier or protection spell to not allow the book to get one tapped?
Mm-hmm.
They make it to the book, it gets destroyed, and they're like, well, looks like America Chavez is going to be the savior, when this entire movie she's been the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like there wasn't enough character progression or character development for America Chavez to be like, I could do this. I don't need the book. It was basically like Doctor Strange was like, all right, well, there goes plan A. You better get your shit together because this girl's about to come and destroy us. So if you don't do what you need to do, we're all done.
And it didn't even feel like though where it was in those scenarios where it's just kind of like wild power, like I'm just gonna aim and shoot. You know what I mean? Where it's just like go wild, release all your power, almost like Negasonic, whatever in Deadpool. Like clearly a character who has some destructive power or can really do something, but maybe can't control it to its fullest. Same thing here. Like the hints that they gave with America Chavez was not enough for me to convince me that that was the answer. When just like you said, damsel in distress the whole time, all of a sudden, I'm going to put my big girl pants on and then go head to head with the most OP character we've ever seen in a movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
That wholeheartedly agree. We're going to touch on it, but the book, I think both books are wasted in my opinion.
See, like if I were to talk about a specific portion, I think it's the books, or the Book of Ashanti specifically. If I were to talk about as a whole, I think it's the underutilization of such great story developmental pieces, right? Both books, I mean, the first book literally got stabbed with a knife, and then there it goes. The Book of
Mhm.
Ashanti, nothing. Illuminati, as hyped as we were to see them, as badass as the cameos were, and even though we knew some of them and blah blah, dude, all of those characters got wrecked within 5 minutes, and that's
Mhm.
supposed to be like, Earth's mightiest heroes, like legit, the big ass Cthulhu monsters got wrecked in 5 seconds. Like, I think there's just so many opportunities for the movie to really like utilize certain aspects and certain MacGuffins, and they were just like, okay, we're just gonna one tap them and keep the story going forward.
Listen, I've said this before. I'm a huge, or I was a huge wrestling fan. And there came a point when you'd show up to a show and they would tease promo the week before they'd set it up. Man, there's this big match that's supposed to be happening. Cool. I'm going to go spend money. I'm going to go to this match. I'm going to wait for 2.5 hours to see both of the people that I want to see in the ring. And then some Joe Schmo from left field comes out, disqualification. The match never happens. Boom. It goes dark. Hey, we'll see you next Friday. It's like, why do you tease the things that you do just not to deliver? Yes, we just talked about things that they delivered. However, for the hype that this movie had and the buildup and all the time spent to say, this is going to be the biggest thing that you've seen since Endgame. To be honest, they haven't really lied to us before. They've been pretty spot on with everything. But something about this movie, and it's exactly what you said, not something, the exact things you said about this movie are why I cannot say that this was a great movie. Those misses didn't cost them much money. Clearly, we went over that. But what I think it did cost, or what's a better way to put this? What I think it did was put a little bit, the slightest amount of doubt in the minds of fans. Because I gave you the fastest car on the lot and you came in last place. And you look at me and you say, but isn't my car nice? And I'm like, yeah, it's a nice car. And you're like, well, okay, what else do you want? I'm like, I want you to win. You have all the tools to win. Why did you not win? And you're like, I don't know. That to me, I almost feel like this is a strike one, in my opinion. And phase 4 so far, I don't know if you feel this way, but to me, phase 4 kind of seems like they do not have a game plan post Infinity Saga. And I've been waiting for it. And I think this was the real picture on the wall that says we don't know where we're going.
I think I'm going to hold you on that, because I think that Marvel knows where they're going. It's the steps that they're going to take to get there. Because, for instance, this movie, Multiverse of Madness, bro, I remember at Comic-Con 2020, or no, 2019, I guess. Shit, fuck COVID. In 2019, when they announced this movie, and as soon as they have multiverse in the title, I'm like, boom, here we go. Multiverse, that is the easiest way to explain mutants existing and Fantastic Four. We had that. That literally happened. And then never once did Reed Richards, did Professor X, did anybody say, oh yeah, we are who we are, and we also exist on your planet. All I would have needed was for one of them to confirm the existence of either of them within the mainstream Earth 616 MCU and say, yeah, you just haven't seen us, you haven't found us yet, you haven't done this and that. Boom. And that is the end of story. I would have been like, okay, now we're world building. This movie
Mhm.
had its whole plot start to finish, and I feel like it did not really build much more for the story, with the exception of the post-credit scene that we can get into. We didn't get our mutants, we didn't get our Fantastic Four. Nobody from the multiverse crossed over into our universe. We went into theirs. So it's like, where what came from this movie?
That's a valid thing to say. What really did come from this movie? We'll get to that at the end, so stick around for the end. We have our post-credit thoughts and where the MCU is going after this, where we think that they're going. Obviously, they know because they sit at a retreat and they plan out decades worth of stuff. But at the same time, though, two things I want to point out. Now, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it changes your mind or opinion or anything. Maybe it doesn't. Although they have these things planned out, Benedict Cumberbatch just came out and said, hey, it's clear that I didn't like the movie. He was a big advocate for reshoots and says the one issue that Marvel has and that this movie had in specifically was that they didn't know how the ending was going to happen. So although they know all these movies and we can see the timeline all day long, we can see Fantastic Four has John Watts and that's announced by Kevin Feige himself, but things change. He dropped off. This movie, the director didn't watch all of WandaVision. That was in a Rolling Stones magazine article where he admitted that the only things that he saw from WandaVision, which we had talked about minutes ago, right? How big that was for Wanda, who is a huge character in this movie. The director didn't even have enough time to watch everything. That was done by Matt Shakman. That's different. That's separate. So Sam Raimi comes in after, he wasn't even supposed to be the original director of this movie, right?
No, it was Scott Derrickson.
Right. So we have someone who, this is going to be an extremely unpopular opinion. I do not think that the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies they did not age well, in my opinion. At the time, great. But you kind of got the feel that this was another old school superhero movie, right? Where it's kind of one and done, self-contained, whatever. But my point that I'm trying to say is Benedict Cumberbatch says the ending of this was not finalized until they were going through shooting, directing, changing those types of things in the movie. There was no concrete, hey, before we even take one take, this is what's going to happen in the end. And I get things change, but that's just kind of a Marvel thing. Name besides Moon Knight, when was the last time you saw a really good ending to a show or movie? Post Endgame.
Dude, honestly, nothing, bro. WandaVision had probably one of the best Disney Plus endings because Hawkeye, that shit completely reneged everything. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the best thing we got out of that was Captain Falcon's speech, but dude's been on the back burner since then. Loki was a great ending too because it established the whole Kang, universe that he's going to be in. But
massive world building. Yep.
Yeah. And then, that's it, dude. Yeah. You had all the movies, Black Widow, she's donezo, so it doesn't matter. Eternals was good because you're establishing the cosmic aspect of it, but
worst Marvel movie of all time, apparently.
I don't know, bro. It's gonna be a hot take, but I prefer the entire story of Eternals over this movie right here.
So then what would be the biggest changes you would have made to the storyline of Multiverse of Madness?
So for me, one of the biggest issues was how overpowered Wanda was. I know we've talked about it before. When a character is that powerful, there's not much that's left for the story other for them to get killed or get killed off or something, right? It was the same issue that we had when we went and watched the Justice League for the very first time in theaters before we got the Snyder Cut. As soon as Superman showed up, it wasn't no longer Justice League. It was Superman's return. Everybody's take a sideline. I'm gonna finish off this movie. So Wanda being that powerful, I think my biggest issue was the way she just murked everybody off in the Illuminati. I think what they could have done, or what I would have preferred to see, was, let's say she killed 2 people. She killed off Black Bolt because, one, the reprisal role, nobody gave a shit.
No.
She could have probably also killed off Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel, whatever. But as she's fighting Mr. Fantastic, Professor X, and even Sharon, they could have had Professor X talk to what's his name, Doctor Strange, like in the Mindscape, and say, "You need to find us. You need to find us in your planet to stop her." Right? Even like in I forgot what X-Men movie it was, when Wolverine tells Professor X, "Find us all. Find Jean, find Storm, find Cyclops. We need to come together and make the X-Men so that we can, grow and go on and do everything we need to do." If they would have had a scene like that in this movie, even if, let's just say, Doctor Strange goes back and says, "Hey, we need to find them for the incursions or the incursion, or we need to find them for secret invasion," or whatever the fuck. All I need to hear is them say that they're going to be looked for.
Mm-hmm.
And establish the world building that is the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and so,
100%. I mean, the fact that we heard 2 things. You have Professor X, and then you have the literal announcement of the smartest person, a genius. There is no one better or brighter than Reed Richards. If I'm Doctor Strange, I'm like, oh, Tony's gone. I'm for sure going to find this guy.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that he hears something like that and he's like, oh, good. Now, you know what? No one's going to be a better surgeon than me. It's like, well, first off, you're not a surgeon anymore. Second, you're in a whole different side of things. You know what I mean? Like, why would you not want to find someone like that?
Mm-hmm.
That just that didn't sit well with me at all. And I think my biggest change would have 100% been how they interacted with the Illuminati and time spent with the Illuminati. Because exactly like you've said, getting to know them better and acknowledging that they do exist on Earth 616, now we have some credibility. We have world building. We have, oh man, like, mutants do exist. Yeah, Fantastic Four, Quantum Realm. Like, how do they get there? You ask all these really good questions. Those are exciting things to think about and see, when are these going to pop up in the future of the MCU? But they chose to go the route of least resistance, which, again, doesn't make sense to me personally. But narrowing it down, I never in a million years would have had the Scarlet Witch one shot the most powerful
Inhuman
gathering of
the
number one Inhuman, the smartest person in the world, one of the strongest mutants. Say what you want about Professor X, but meant his strength, he is one of the top, hands down. And then physically, I mean, I guess you could have. I mean, a shield isn't going to do much against Scarlet Witch. In Captain Marvel is Captain Marvel. I think that Captain Marvel, like, it just seemed like they were just like lackeys. Like, there was just no different from like an Ultron bot or one of the Chitauri Outriders or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they get squashed. And I think moving forward, if and when these characters do show up in the future, why would I be excited to see them? If I don't know who Reed Richards is or who Professor X is, and I see some bald guy in a yellow chair, why would I'd be like, oh, isn't that the guy that like Babe taps on your shoulder and like, oh, babe, isn't that the guy who just got smashed by his neck snapped by Scarlet Witch? Like, what is he gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
It just takes away a little of the importance and I think like the shine that the characters had. If it was
I
meant to
agree.
be a one-off, right? If it was meant to be a one-off, which it was clearly, fine. But I think they sacrificed the wrong characters.
Mm-hmm.
You take out Mordo instead, nobody's going to be mad. No offense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
saying.
You take out
Mordo and Captain Marvel could have been the most expendable. Oh, and Black Bolt.
Yep.
Mordo, Black Bolt, and Captain Marvel. Those are your three expendable characters. You keep characters like Sharon Carter, Mr. Fantastic, and Professor X. They just deliver some lines of dialogue, and that is it. Like, I'm
Right.
pretty sure, considering the Earth, like Earth 838 or whatever it was, 838, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, technologically, that should look like it was way in advance past Earth
Yes.
616.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I feel like it's not even outside of the realm of possibilities that that Earth 838, Mr. Fantastic couldn't make some like mental communicator across the multiverse.
Mm.
You know, I feel like he could be in contact with other variants of himself and just be like, hey, by the way, this is what happened here. Just a heads up if something's gonna, happen on your planet or whatever. That's part of the reason why people can become so smart when they know
Sure.
everything. Like
Sure.
knowing everything and knowing every potential outcome is what makes somebody smart, which is like in exactly the definition of Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah. I mean, we have to move on, but my last note to that and piggybacking on that is, as someone thinking of this, and I don't think this is in the realm of overthinking, because it's easy to sit here and listen and be like, oh, guys, you're reading way too into it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But think of it. If we have, let's just quickly, we go to Endgame or Infinity War, we have that whole squad that shows up to face Thanos, right? Another universe comes in and they wipe them out. You're telling me that Tony, Thor, Cap, they literally did that to Thanos. He did what he came to do and left. And they searched the entire universe to find this man. Yes, to reverse what he did. But even when they couldn't, bam, should have won for the head. Done. So you're telling me that Scarlet Witch can show up to the same universe where they ended up doing the same thing in a different way, stopping Thanos, and she's like, whack, here come your best guys. Thor gone, Iron Man gone, Cap gone. And everyone else is like, well, guess we should have saw that one coming. I don't know. Let's move on. Like, what are you guys doing for dinner? There's no way you keep Professor X alive. You keep Reed Richards alive. He uses the quantum realm or whatever it might be. And you have Logan, Jean Grey, Storm. You have these people who team up, who clearly know who Reed Richards is with the Fantastic Four. And the chase is on. I'm going to find you somewhere, somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how that's not a thing. I don't know how that's not possible or even hinted at. Like, there's no way that the 616 Avengers would be cool with it and just lay down and be like, we're not going to literally avenge our fallen comrades and teammates. Like, it's an issue, right? But I think the ending kind of didn't taste right in a sense. So what I want to do real quick is just, how would you have changed it? What would you have done? How should the movie have ended with that end scene where we're in Mount Wundagore, Zombie Strange, America Chavez, Wong? Like, tell me how you'd kind of wrap this movie up and then propel it forward in the MCU.
I think the ending with Wanda was a necessity. That was the one thing they did right. I know people are like, no, she can't be dead. She's such a pivotal character. Hell no. Earth 616 Wanda was fucking unleashed, and she has nothing left in the story but to die. That was okay. I think the only thing I would change is, instead of Clea coming and saying, "Oh, we have to band together because of the incursion that's coming," she could just say, "Oh, by the way, you remember what you and Wanda did over there in Earth 838? Yeah, Franklin Richards isn't too happy about that.
Mm.
Wolverine isn't too happy about that. Medusa and the rest of the Inhumans, they're not too happy about that. Like, just establish that other characters that we already have wanted to cross over and see are coming." Because the main threat is that we need those characters from the multiverse to come to Earth 616, or else it's not a threat.
Right. No, 100%.
Either that or just give me a Kang reference. Give me a reference where Franklin, the son of Reed Richards, has a son who he tells his son about what Wanda did. And then Nathaniel Richards is like, "Oh, I will avenge him one day." Boom. Plant the seeds for Kang the Conqueror to go and do some time traveling crazy ass shit.
100%. That would make sense. It would tie in something that is extremely relevant. I don't think that that's too far out of the realm of possibility, and by no means would that be a reach. So I love that. I personally think they could have added something that I personally was I was waiting for it, and it never happened. I agree with you. I think Scarlet Witch, this is it. 7th appearance, done. WandaVision, like, it's going to be one of the greats probably forever, but you always have to manage your power scale and the gap between, clearly, because even think about this. Just go back for a second. What was one thing that was always predicted at the end of WandaVision when Wanda was out of control with the Hex? No one can stop her. Everyone's like, when's Doctor Strange going to show up? We all thought Doctor Strange was the answer to stopping Wanda and the Hex. Didn't happen. Whatever. In this movie, that same person was nowhere. I'm sorry, but he was not even on. He's not on the same planet as Scarlet Witch. He's just not. Now, with the Book of Ashanti, it's a whole different story, but 1v1, he's not winning 10 out of 10 times. She had this whole thing with the kids going down there, right? She did that. What was the piece that was missing from WandaVision? Vision. WandaVision. Vision was a huge piece. We never saw him, and if we did, I just completely missed it. But I personally think all that guy had to do, and I think this would have surprised me, she brought Mount Wundagore down on herself. Could you imagine if, where's the last time we saw Vision up in the sky? Could you imagine if this guy just straight missiled all the way down and bam, just blew that whole place up and was like, we don't need you. Like, you're wrong. Something along those lines. But I think if Vision would have showed up to take her out somehow, some way, for me, that would have felt a little more complete to her story because he was missing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he would have shown up some way, somehow. And she even referenced him too in the movie and saying, like, I went through, like, I had to basically crush his head for everyone else. Like, it's time for me to be selfish, but I had to give up everything for everyone else, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that it would have ended with an interaction with Vision and gone back to Earth 838, preparing for their own version of an invasion to 616 as retribution for what all the 616 people did there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love pop culture? Do you love collectibles? Are you a fan of Marvel? Of course, that's why you're listening. Well, I have a collector that you must check out. Mr. Jalapeno has an insane collection of Funko Pops that are must see. Check out his Instagram and YouTube, where he unboxes some of your favorite Marvel characters from movies and shows like Moon Knight and, of course, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Check it out. All right, man.
Bro, what's up with that plug, bro? Solid.
The best plug you'll hear all day.
Much appreciated, baby.
Hey, that's what we do here. But what we also do is talk about post-credit scenes. And you know what? I'm going to let you take it away. Just remind everyone what we sat in our seats for. After that whole movie, whether you loved it or hated it, we sat here in classic Marvel fashion and saw what?
First post-credit scene. You know, you teeing it up. Doctor Strange is talking to Wong at the end of the whole story. And he says, you know, Wong, are you actually happy? Is that something that you can confidently say? And Wong says, I look at my life here and I realize that in the grand scheme of the multiverse, it could be a lot worse. And it makes me appreciate what I have in this universe. Right? Doctor Strange goes off on his merry way. Boom. The third eye pulls up, straight Illuminati status. And that is indicating that the curse of the Darkhold has taken over, if not entirely, but still has a connection with Doctor Strange, although it's been destroyed. Answer Clea says, hey, you need to come with me because we have to go to the dark dimension and prevent the incursion. Cut to black. Wait a whole 5 minutes as I hold my piss in and watch the worst fucking post-credit scene.
Worst.
In all of Marvel. As a matter of fact, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10. That shit happened, and I'm like, bro, round that shit down to a 7. I was so pissed, dude.
Dude, I felt the same way. I was like, okay, here we go. We're getting Kang. We're getting something like that we just didn't get, or like how it should have ended. Something along those lines. Nothing. But there were a couple important things that I think people might not have understood. So one being Clea, if you want to touch on her, and then two, really what is an incursion? And when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. What is that again? Like, we'll touch on those two things because those are going to have really big implications, most likely moving forward in the MCU, especially in Doctor Strange 3 or his future cameo that he has in a movie or splits it with somebody. So I know you said it as soon as it was bam, Charlize Theron, that's Clea. Who is she?
She is essentially another sorcerer or sorceress who is on the same level and capabilities of the Sorcerer Supreme. She has been the love interest of Doctor Strange in some of the comics and has been known to, for lack of better words, just fuck shit up with him.
And there's something interesting that I was actually very surprised because she's related to Dormammu. So she's the niece of Dormammu. She's not a bad character, comic-wise. Who knows what they're going to do with her MCU? But the fact that they're going to the Dark Dimension, she has ties to Dormammu. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. She did worship him. However, she's fairly good to everything that she just said. And, you know, she said, hey, we're here to stop an incursion. Now, an incursion, for everyone who is wondering what that is, if you haven't looked it up yet, essentially we have two planets or whatever, they're Earths that are colliding. That is stemming from a variant killing another variant. So flashback to the musical fight. What happened? Our Doctor Strange from 616 killed the first third eye Doctor Strange. Boom, impaled through the fence. He killed another variant, therefore triggering an incursion. Where do we go from here? What's going to happen?
Well, this gives them an opportunity to have a legitimate multiverse of madness where multiverses are now colliding against each other, because prior to an incursion, the multiverses live in a parallel dimension, right? They never cross over. There's no perpendicular points. So an incursion causes one universe to slightly angle into the direction of another one. Therefore, at the point of impact, either one or both universes get completely destroyed.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. What was in the comics? It was Molecule Man and actually Doctor Doom who triggered the first incursion, and it was Captain America who used the Infinity Gauntlet to try and stop these things. So just in terms of like pure scale, if they are comic book accurate, those things like the Infinity Gauntlet was involved. That's how intense an incursion can be. So I don't know what they're going to do, and I really don't know what they're going to do with Wanda. For those who think that she's alive, we think she's dead. So let's run through it super quick. What do you think is going to happen to Wanda, if anything at all?
Well, if I stick to my guns and Earth 616 Wanda is dead, the only other way we're going to get a Wanda is Wanda from another universe. Could be 838, could be a different one where they confirm that her father is Magneto. Who knows? But I mean, I'm at the point where I don't necessarily need to see another variant version of Wanda. I don't want the multiverse to be the solution to fill in the gaps with characters who are dead in our present day just to continue an appearance.
Yep. Which is why I love that they did not have Tom Cruise as Iron Man in this movie. If Iron Man's done, I want Iron Man to be done. It was a possibility, but agree. Do you think, though, does the Scarlet Witch, not Wanda 616, but does the Scarlet Witch power get passed to someone else? Because remember, she ended up getting it. There was a Scarlet Witch before, and then it was her.
Mm-hmm.
So does that power get passed on, or is that attainable? Like, can someone like Agatha get it? Or does it get passed to another Wanda in a different multiverse?
That's also another thing that was kind of confusing, because like if Scarlet Witch is supposed to be like a nexus being, there should only be one Scarlet Witch, whereas the movie, I feel like, flopped and said that America Chavez was the only nexus being to this day.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is that like the Scarlet Witch is kind of like a book written in stone. Like if Chatan did write the Darkhold and he said, "Oh, the Scarlet Witch is going to be more powerful than the whatever," Chatan must have some kind of knowledge of the future, knowing that in every universe somebody will become the Scarlet Witch, and in doing so, she will be more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, and so on, whatever. But I don't think the powers can be passed. Nobody except Wanda Maximoff, or actually just straight up Wanda Maximoff. She is the only one who can become the Scarlet Witch, and how she becomes the Scarlet Witch depends on the events of her universe.
Interesting. Is it possible, let's just say the power exists somewhere. Could someone like Agatha harness that power or steal some sort of power?
I don't know. I think the Scarlet Witch is like it's kind of like the worthiness charm that's on Mjolnir.
Sure.
You have to have
that makes sense.
a certain level of like qualifications, I guess, to be able to handle that power. Like let's say Wanda or Agatha was able to siphon that power off of Wanda. I think it would drive her mad, Third Eye style, and she would fucking like obliterate into nothingness. And then that Scarlet, that dark energy, that chaos magic would just kind of float and just exist within, its environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like
I like that.
I think physical beings have to be strong enough and capable enough to handle the power of the Scarlet Witch and the chaos magic.
That makes sense. Now, Doctor Strange, right? We kind of went over that. He's still has some Darkhold power, or he's becoming a stronger version of himself with the remnant of whatever's in there since he's been corrupted, right? How did he get corrupted? Pretty sure it's because he used a spell and inhabited a dead body. That's like an unforgivable no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure that was a trigger event for that now.
Yeah, because I don't think it was necessarily the use of the book. I think what it was is that he dreamwalked into a deceased body, and those
Yeah.
demons said that is not acceptable, even within the Darkhold standards. Like the Darkhold's supposed to be the worst of the worst, and they're like, all right, bro, no, like you could be a murderer, but you can't be a serial killer. Like that's where we draw the line.
Right. So he has this power. He goes in the dark dimension. He's with Clea. Where do you see Doctor Strange in his next appearance? Or what did they do to lead you to the assumption that he's going to be here?
I don't know, man. I don't know. All I know is nowhere in this movie did I feel that Doctor Strange was capable enough to stop Wanda. And in doing so, I feel like my level of power creep for him has just significantly gone down, moving forward.
Even with the third eye appearing?
Well, with the third eye, yes, but still then I don't know what he has to offer, man.
Dude, and that is, oh my God, that is to the point. The fact that we feel this way, that we said it, that he is more powerful than he's ever been. I don't feel it. I didn't feel it. When he dropped to his knees and that eye appeared, I was like, ugh. I almost was like kind of like disgusted, where I was like, great. Now we got to deal with this crap more.
Well, so like the thing is, how are you gonna have Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, be that powerful, but Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme? Like, what the hell are the mechanics of the Sorcerer Supreme? Last time I checked, Supreme means an absolute badass who is the strongest of their kind.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, other than grip strength, Wong couldn't do shit. This movie, bro.
It's true. It's true. Those things don't match up. You have someone in here who didn't prove themselves. They didn't spend enough money on showcasing his powers, in my opinion, whatsoever. There's no, yes, you perform some spell, like that's fine, but whether you've watched it or not, like that was my issue when it came to the Harry Potter movies. You read the books and they're doing spells all day long. You read the comics for Doctor Strange and you're like, whoa, he can do that? Crazy, insane, wow. And then you look at this movie and this guy's getting one-upped in his own movie. And then an eye pops out of his forehead and you spend millions of dollars on CGI for another eye. And I'm supposed to be like, you know what? I'm going to stand up and turn around and be like, my man's arrived. No, I've seen too much. He's overexposed. I don't really care about the next time I see Doctor Strange. And if it's within the next 5 years, that will be too soon for me. I know that's kind of harsh, but I need a break from Doctor Strange. I don't know. But listen, we had Moon Knight, guys. Moon Knight. Hands down, the best. And Jabbering Jalapeno called it from day one.
Yes, sir.
The best thing that we have seen in the MCU in Phase 4, in my opinion. The best thing that's been on Disney Plus. And that was kind of confirmed with what we saw from Wanda. But nonetheless, we need to talk about it. That is going to be the last and final pre-podcast. If you guys are listening to this now, it is most likely on YouTube. The Moon Knight podcast will be the last one that'll be on YouTube. And from there, we're going live to Spotify, Apple, Google. We're making it happen. But we're going to talk Moon Knight. Of course, we got to bring it back. We have to run it back with the Jabbering Jalapeno. So not only like this video, share, subscribe, check out the Funko reveals. Some awesome stuff is coming that has been pre-ordered. Guys, they look fantastic. Show the boys some love. Check out the unboxings. And with that, we will see you guys in the next one.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here today.
Absolutely, man. Catch you guys later.